the New York Yankees have obviously had an overall very good season. They're 71-39 over the season, best record in the American League. I'm pretty sure it's the second best record in the big leagues, or at least definitely the third best. I know that. Um, Great year for them so far. However, there have been a couple of cold struggles recently. The Yankees, since June 24th, are 19-21. That's sub 500. And there has been some players' performances that have dropped a little bit. Is it cause for concern? Do the Yankees have anything to worry about? Should they be worried about maybe the Blue Jays getting hot? We're gonna cover it all. We're gonna cover it all here on Bleacher Brawls. My name is Derek. I'm here with Barnes. And we're gonna dive straight into this. Or do the Yankees have anything to be worried about? Let's get straight into it. Obviously, like I said, Yankees have been very good this year, but there have been a couple cold struggles, and this really, I mean, maybe this kind of really the only cold struggle they've had, but it is a big cold struggle. Over a month now, being sub five, a month and a half, almost a month and a half now, where they've been sub 500. So Barnes, I'll just throw it over to you right away. Just thoughts on the cold stretches that this big cold stretch the Yankees have had.
Hey, Yankees fans, if you're watching this or tuning in, don't panic. Don't worry. We got nothing to worry about. You built up this awesome lead in the beginning of the year, leading up to the All-Star break. That's what you did. You built yourself a cushion. All right. You're not coasting, but hey, you've allowed yourself to make a few of these little errors. Okay. We've got a little cold stretch, it's happening. It's gonna happen. That's how baseball works. Instead of being up and then down week to week, we were hot. All right, now we're cold and we're gonna get hot again. So don't worry about it. I know it doesn't look pretty. It's gonna get a little bit uglier before it gets better, but I have a feeling we're gonna be ready to go for end of September and right into October.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the Yankees, like, they've had a tremendous year. Like, you can't say they haven't had a great year. Now, what is interesting is the fact that they have built up such a big gap. And I said it in our very first Yankees video we did here on the Bleacher Balls channel. I said, hey, the Yankees are doing themselves a favor. They're building up a big gap. So if they do have a cold stretch or a stretch where they have some injuries, they have they have some breathing room. And I said this about the Red Sox in that video too, where the Red Sox they haven't given themselves any breathing room, and they go on a cold stretch now, and look what's happening to them. They're falling apart. Because they were so cold to start the season. So the Yankees afforded themselves, they gave themselves some breathing room. They afforded themselves, okay, if we do go on a cold stretch, it's not going to just take us out of the playoffs, or it's not even going to take us out of the division lead. They still have a 10.5 game lead in the division. So they're still in a very good spot. But this does bring up the question, how long can these struggles realistically go on for until there needs to be some sort of change, whether it's maybe move the lineup around, maybe change around how the bullpen's working. How long can the struggle realistically last?
So as of this recording, we're recording this on August 9th. So I'm just going to use this as a perspective into where we're at. The Yankees are in a 3-game series. They're in the middle of a 3-game series with Seattle Mariners. Then they're going to have a travel day, go to the Boston Red Sox. Then they're back home for 3 games with the Rays, 4 with the Blue Jays, 2 with the Mets. All right. This section of the schedule is going to get tough. All right. You got the road away games in Seattle. Mariners have been great this year. Then they're flying across the country back to the East Coast. They're going to play the Red Sox, who are always just a pesky opponent. Derek, you can attribute to that.
Yeah.
The Red Sox just beat Houston, and then they lost to the Royals. So who are the Red Sox? We don't really know, but if they show up, they're a great team, and they can get the win, right? Yankees got to be worried for the Red Sox. Then they're playing against the Rays, who always seem to give you a tough time. The Blue Jays are getting hot. They're fighting for to maintain the wild card lead. And you know what? If they get hot and the Yankees keep declining, maybe they're thinking about winning the division. And then you got the Mets, who we got shellacked by. So this stretch of the schedule is definitely really tough. But then it starts to lighten up. Then you play the A's and the Angels, and those are definitely get right series. So hey, it's going to be a little bumpy. I don't want to say that you built up this cushion for this section of the schedule, But hey, you got to find ways to battle through. You got to find a couple wins here and there. If you can go 500 through this stretch of games, I think you're in good shape.
Yeah, and it is a rough schedule the rest of the way. I mean, for the Yankees, you have those Oakland and Angels games, and then you're right back Tampa, Minnesota, Tampa, Boston, Milwaukee. Yes, you get two against Pittsburgh, and then you're right back to Boston, Toronto, Baltimore. Then you end the season off in Texas on a 4-game series, but that includes a doubleheader. In the last game of the series, there's a doubleheader. In the last series of the season, there's a doubleheader. Like that can put a wrench into some things, rotation wise or that kind of stuff too. So you also got to worry about that as well. Um, so it's not an easy schedule. Obviously, most teams aren't going to have easy schedules as in the American League when everyone's fighting for a playoff spot, it seems, with the exception of like 3 teams. So it is very interesting to see how long these struggles will last, if they will last. Do the Yankees get themselves out of it? But yeah, it is a very rough part of the schedule. They've been in this kind of I guess they've been sub 500 since the start, since like that Houston series in June, that 4-game Houston series where they won the first game, but then after that first game, that's when they've been 19 and 21 since. Lost 2 losses against Houston. They swept Oakland, but then you lose against Houston again. You play Cleveland, and you split with Pittsburgh. You split with Boston. You lost the series to Cincinnati. You won 2 out of 3 against Boston, but then it's like, okay, then you get Baltimore and and they also had that doubleheader against Houston where they lost both games before that ball. So the schedule is kind of like they've played some very good teams. Obviously, that Mets series that they lost, obviously beating Kansas City, 3 out of 4. They need it. The Yankees needed, but lose to Seattle. Then you get swept by St. Louis. Now they're back in Seattle. Obviously, it's been a rough stretch, but it has been a hard part of the schedule as well. So it's not an excuse, but it's also like, okay, you can kind of see where some of those losses are coming from. Are there any individual players though that you are a little worried about, Barnes?
Players I'm worried about, definitely Aaron Hicks. Aaron Hicks has been struggling, and every time he's getting an opportunity, it seems like he's playing for his contract. Like he's playing to like really prove if he's actually going to still be on the team or if he's just going to be riding the bench the rest of the way. And unfortunately, with the little bit of the injury bug, we got to have him come in. And he's been struggling at the plate. Other players that have been struggling as of recently, especially during this, that this cold streak, has been guys like Josh Donaldson and Gleyber Torres. They were really just in a funk. They couldn't get anything going. It seems like they're starting to come out of it. You got to hope. Andrew Benintendi, he comes over it and he stinks it up his first couple games here, and you're like, holy cow! Like this guy, like why did we get this guy? And then injury wise, Stanton and Rizzo, that they're hurt. So you just listed off 5, 6 guys who are pretty much everyday players for the Yankees who have been struggling or haven't been able to perform due to injury. So yes, I'm worried about those guys specifically. Hopefully these guys can battle through, ride the momentum of a DJ LeMahieu or Aaron Judge. Hey, feed off of that energy. Try to get yourself right, and then when we switch to the pitching side, guys like Tyone and Nestor Cortez who had awesome starts to the year and really, were punching above their weight class. And, now they're starting to struggle. They're not really finding the easy outs. They're struggling. I think other teams are figuring out their pitch mix. Clay Holmes has struggled recently, and it's not nice to see, and he's another guy who I think has been punching above his weight class. He had a lights out beginning of the year. I was like, holy cow, this guy is ridiculous. He might be the best closer in the first half of the season. Maybe not the best, but definitely in the top 3 of the closers in the league in the first half of the season leading to the All-Star game. He comes out of the All-Star, even right before the All-Star game, you're like, holy cow, I think he's just a regular guy now. He's a mortal human being. He's going to let up runs and walks and hits, and you're like, holy cow. So, losing Michael King has almost put a little bit more pressure on Holmes. So it's like, hey, we need to find some pitching. We need to dig deep. The guys behind at bat, you guys got to dig deep. You got to hey, you don't got to swing for the fence. Just get a couple singles, get yourself going, find your swing, and that'll help right the ship.
Yeah, and I think it kind of goes back to the reliance on the home run ball. It can work out, but when it doesn't work, it's ugly. And you know, I like the Yankees have been very reliant on not just the home run ball, but the home run ball also coming from Aaron Judge, which, especially with some of the injuries now, you can't really just rely on one guy to carry your team. It just doesn't. It's not going to happen in baseball. Clay Holmes, his struggles have or they really kicked off in that Boston series at Fenway. Those struggles really kicked off where it seemed like he was going to be dominant, and then the Red Sox got to him that game. I think it was in the 10th inning. Um, yeah, it was in, or was it in the ninth? No, or I don't. I don't remember which game it was, but it was definitely that Boston series at Fenway, I think, where it seemed like, oh, okay, they've figured out maybe Clay Holmes. And then, after that, it just kind of went downhill. I know they had that game in New York that I think Boston came back against Holmes, I think, as well. Like the next week, I think it was. I'm just double checking that now. Um, yeah, so but it's and I know a lot of Red Sox fans like, oh, the Red Sox broke Clay Holmes and da 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 da. I don't know if they broke him, but like he's definitely struggled since then. Maybe and I don't maybe teams just kind of figured it out. Um, they kind of know what's coming, especially with relievers. Relievers can be so up and down because most relievers only have two pitches. So if one pitch isn't on, you can just sit on that other pitch. If the fastball's not, let's say someone like Clay Holmes throws a sinker, if the sinker's the only pitch working, well, guess what? Everyone's going to sit sinker, and it makes the sinker not work as much because everyone knows it's coming. And I think that might be that could be part of the problem as well. And it happens with a lot of relievers. If you only have two pitches and one pitch isn't working, well, you only got one other pitch to go to. And I think that, happens a lot of times to relievers.
Yeah, absolutely. I really think that also just not having we kind of talked about it on a Twitter space earlier today. So hey, if you're watching this YouTube and you want some more day-to-day action, head over to our Twitter at Bleacher Brawl. We do Twitter spaces every day where especially me, I usually head them up and I'm usually talking Yankees. So if you want more Yankee stuff, head over there. But I talked about it on the Twitter space, and one of the listeners also chimed in and said, yeah, I think losing Michael King has been a little tough, and tinkering around. I think Boone tinkering around like, hey, Clay Holmes, let's throw him in the eighth inning, because that's when there are 2, 3, 4 hitters in the lineup are up, and you're losing a little bit of consistency there. So people are maybe falling a little out of the rhythm. Hey, people think that these guys are just robots and they just do their thing. And in some regards they are, in some regards they're not. Hey, if you're a professional athlete and you're mentally prepared to, go in at the ninth inning and we need you in the eighth, maybe throws them off a little bit. Hey, Clay, you're going in a high pressure situation. We're going to bring you in for 4-out save. Can you get it done? And earlier in the year, he was kind of getting it done when Michael King was around. He was responsible for 4 or 5 outs himself. Clay, you got to go get the last 4. Now it's like, oh man, like Wandy Peralta's out there. He's not having a great night. Aroldis Chapman's out there. He's not having a great night. I guess it's all on me. And then that pressure builds. So, I think once the team starts getting right again, Clay Holmes will get right. As the team goes, Clay Holmes will go too. So I think it all ties together. They're all going to feed off of each other.
I think a big part of it in this is Aroldis Chapman because he hasn't been right all season. And, for a guy who's supposed to be the closer and all that, he hasn't been anywhere close to a closer. So I think that could be cause for concern, especially if Holmes struggles and is struggling to get it back on track. That could be a problem. Any concerns before we wrap this thing up? Any kind of concerns about the Yankees going forward, or you still feel confident in their ability to go win games and hopefully carry that into the postseason as well?
Ultimately, right now, where we're at, I think the Yankees still got a great shot to go out and win games. Day to day, Yankees should be considered a favorite team. No matter who's on the bump, no matter what the lineup is, they're getting guys. And here's where I'm going to tell you, here's why you should relax. Here's why you think they should win. Not only do they have DJ LeMahieu and then league MVP, candidate Aaron Judge, not AL league MVP candidate Aaron Judge. they've also got these other guys who are just getting it done. Jose Trevino is getting it done. He bats in the bottom third. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, as much as people will kind of complain about him, he's still getting it done. You know, Gleyber Torres can get it done. He's just in a slump. Josh Donaldson was in a slump. He's starting to get it done again. Rizzo's coming back. Stanton's coming back. Carpenter shouldn't be out long. Hey, it looks kind of bad right now, and they're going to take it easy with him. They have that 10-game cushion in the division. They're going to give him the rest he needs so that way he can come back late September into October. We have reinforcements on the way. Just sit back, be patient. Get these other guys. Hey, you know what? We got to build up that resiliency right now, so that way we can use it in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's definitely, honestly, there's the only time to really start getting concerned is if the Blue Jays go and they catch fire, and then there's a series against Toronto, and then the Blue Jays just absolutely torch them. Then that might be cause for concern. But as of right now, it's just get everyone healthy, get guys out of slumps, I would think, and then just try and continue rolling. And I say this about the regular season. Cool, winning your division is cool, but at the end of the day, just make the playoffs. Obviously, it seems like the Yankees are going to win the division, but there's the goal to win a World Series is to win the World Series. But to win the World Series, you got to be in the playoffs. So it doesn't matter how you get in, just get in the playoffs, and anything can happen. Now anything could happen, could be positive or negative. But you say that you're thinking on the positive side. Anything can happen. You can go on a run. And I think that's kind of what the Yankees got to do. Just stick with just get everyone back, get everyone healthy. If you lose a couple games now, don't go crazy over it. Get into the playoffs, healthy, I think is the number one goal. And then just roll into the playoffs and see what you can do there. And hopefully for Yankees fans, it turns out well. For me, I don't want it to turn out well, you know. But you know, the thing is, even though Red Sox fan, I still realize this Yankees team is very good, and they do have a shot to win a World Series this year. And as long as they just got to get in the playoffs, be healthy, hopefully not have a bunch of cold streaks going in the playoffs, and they will have a good shot at it, and a good shot at winning the World Series. But we're gonna wrap it up there. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to check out all the links in the description of the Bleacher Brawls website, podcast, Instagram, and Twitter, plus all the crew's Twitters. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when we post. Have a lot of great content going up. So make sure to check all that out. Check all our stuff out, Twitter Spaces, podcast, all these YouTube videos. Check out the website, the columns we're writing. Bunch of stuff going up there. So excited about it. For Barnes, I'm Derek. Thanks for tuning in to Bleacher Brawls, and we'll see you next time.